Hello, hello. Hi, Dr. Bailey. Dr. Bailey, you're
Hey
muted.
Dominique, how you doing?
I am good. And how are you?
I am fantastic. I'm going to Facebook so that I can share this amongst my page.
Are you fantabulous?
I'm fantabulous.
I'm fantabulous too. Who excited? I is.
I am. We are coming up on the 8th annual Leadership Summit. And this is our chance to answer folks' questions because we know there have been a lot. And I'm hoping that our partners can hop on too if they have any questions, but you don't have to be a partner to learn more about the consortium, the Leadership Summit, or even to attend. So I think we're going to jump right in.
Yes. Oh, first of all, happy Good Friday, everybody. Now,
Happy Good Friday.
now I want some fish because in my family it's tradition to have. We can't eat like chicken or meat or anything. We have to have like
Are you
fish.
all Catholic?
No, we're actually not, but
Oh.
it has just always been that way for eat on Good
Mhm.
Fridays. We always just ate fish.
Fish.
Well, we normally ate fish on Fridays anyway, fish or shrimp,
Mhm.
but it was like never any chicken or meat or anything.
On Fridays, that's a thing. I wonder what's the cultural significance of that. Fish on Fridays, outside of like Lent and Catholic holidays and traditions, fish on Fridays is a thing, but it seems to be cultural. And I don't know what the significance of that is. I'm gonna have to look that up. Somebody knows. I'm
I'm gonna
not
have
the
to
only
ask my
nerd in
aunt.
this community, so I know y'all know. Go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Is
ask
it-
my aunt.
yeah,
So,
I'd love to know what that's about because we did it for a long time too. Fish on Fridays.
ooh, especially get you a good whitey or a good porgy. Mm.
Yeah. Whiting
I
was
love
my
food.
jam. How are we talking about whiting? That was my jam, though. You don't see that often anymore.
I know you see everybody eating tilapia, and they
I
don't
do
even
not like
realize
tilapia.
tilapia is not even a real fish. I don't eat that. Like I don't know where that came from. That's not a real fish. It's
It's
something.
not a real fish.
No,
What
it's
does that
something they
mean?
created in the lab. A tilapia is not an actual fish. It's not a real fish.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm serious. Serious. I found that out. I've never eaten tilapia again since then. Which is weird because that means I'm eating another animal. But no, tilapia isn't a actual fish. It's like a science something they cooked up in a lab or something.
I'm gonna have to look that up because I had no idea. That sounds weird and creepy.
But you
I
still
should
want to eat that tilapia though.
Google that because I was unaware. I don't eat it because my mother doesn't eat it, and she doesn't allow us to eat it. Growing up, we weren't allowed to eat tilapia. Let me just stop lying. I said growing up, but you're absolutely right. I never heard of tilapia until adulthood, but we were not allowed to eat it. And well, I mean, teenage years, we weren't allowed to eat it. So to this day, I don't eat tilapia.
Yeah, it's not a real fish. But okay, you guys, we are here not
No,
to
we're
talk
talking
about
about fish.
fish and scientifically engineered food, but we are here to talk about the leadership summit.
Leadership Summit. Yes, we have a lot to discuss, and I think I just shared it on my page. So hopefully others will see and come in. Don't hesitate to ask a question, and we're going to jump right on in.
Yes. Well,
So
thank
we're
you guys.
yeah,
Go ahead.
go.
No, you go, Dr. Bailey.
Okay. Just thank you so much for joining us. And we're super excited to talk to you all about the 8th Annual Leadership Summit. It is very, very surprising to me that we are already in our 8th summit. I remember the very first one, and everybody was inside waiting for it to get started. I was standing outside the door with Nikki Peterson, and I had a sudden flash of anxiety. And I remember looking over at her and saying, I don't want to do this, and then sucking it up, stepping inside, and we created history. We started an amazing organization. But I had this sudden flash of anxiety outside that door with Nikki Peterson, and she was like, "Well, you're gonna do it, so go ahead in there and get over it." I miss her so much.
We here now, right? You ain't got no other choice but to do it.
We're here. She was right. And that leadership summit till now, we have grown substantially. I believe we had 19. Actually, no, I want to say we had 22 partners representing 19 US states. And today, as of last count, we have 68 community-based organization partners and 55 IPCAs representing, I don't know how many states. I have to go back and count that, but we've grown.
Out of the 25 states.
That's disappointing. It's only half the states. We got to reach out. Where are y'all at in the other states? Connect with us so that
we got to get we need the Dakotas.
Oh yeah. The cold areas.
The cold areas. And we know you sickle cell warriors are out there in those areas, and it's difficult in those areas, but
it's rough.
We're going to find a way to reach out to you guys.
I used to live in Indiana. I know Indiana has a strong org we're partnered with, and it was really cold. That Midwest, that flat, that cold hits, and I remember wrapping a scarf around my nose, and I learned later the reason they did that to children, wrap the scarf around our nose, was because the air would get so cold when we were that young, it could freeze the lungs to breathe in cold air. It was very dangerous. And I remember going outside with a scarf wrapped all around my nose. But I will admit that when we moved south, my health improved. It was really cold in Indiana. But we know y'all are out there. We know y'all are out there.
From all the way up in Buffalo to Washington and the rainy area of Seattle, I've met my fair share of, I think I met like 2 sickle cell warriors and 1 caregiver that's actually in the state of Washington, which I was shocked because honestly, I wonder how sickle cell patients survive in that area when it rains so much. I know how I am when it rains, and I just like, it ain't no way.
You know what? I'll bet you they're so used to it, especially if they were born there, that they don't know a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why it is like that and I think about the ones that live in high altitudes, like the warriors that live in Vegas, how it really doesn't affect them because they were born there. So they know nothing different, and their body got used to it. So yeah.
I remember when we went to Vegas to go and check out hotels for a potential convention before the pandemic, you and I decided to walk from one hotel to another. And I was in crisis before we got to our destination. It was like, my body said, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
We ended up having to take, and I kid you not, because I went to Vegas, and we stayed at Treasure Island. So we were actually close to where we were staying when we went to Vegas. And we went to this to the mall that we were going to, and it only took me 10 minutes to walk there, but this was in February. But we went in the middle of July, towards the end of July, the beginning of August, when the convention would be, and we couldn't even go 3 blocks before we had to get in a taxi and go the rest of the way.
We sure did. I forgot about that. We end up calling somebody like, listen, come pick us up. I know the hotel.
We got in a taxi.
We sure did. Anyway, y'all, we got to complete the vote. The reason that this has come up is not the purpose of today's talk, but we do need to vote on where we're going next year. We were supposed to vote at the end of last year, and we just got so busy, and there's a lot of sickness. I was basically in and out of the hospital from November until like about 5 weeks ago. So we just have to get the vote in, and that's always on my mind. Where are we going next year? I'm always thinking about the convention. How can we make this the best experience for patients and caregivers? But today is not about convention, although that is a really good segue, because one of the things I do need to talk about, Dominique, is I think people get confused with convention and leadership summit. Yep. And there are 2 very different meetings for very different purposes. And I've gotten emails from people asking about scholarships for families and how can we get the scholarship and I'm like, do you mean July or April? And they said, no, the one you're about to do in April. It's a different meeting. There are no family scholarships because it isn't the family convention. The leadership summit is where the organizations and individuals who have partnered with the consortium. So we'll come to that. The convention is the big patient caregiver warriors convention. That is the meeting where last year it was like 600 of y'all. We got together in Houston. A bunch of you were online. A whole lot of you were in person. We had run of show of the whole hotel, run of house. That's what they called it. They said we had run of house of the whole hotel, and it was just all of us warriors. And the staff kept complimenting and talking about how they'd never seen so many in one place, and people who knew people with sickle cell that we would meet were just like, wow, I didn't know this existed. And we all got together. We did the homecoming. We did the royal ball. We had a blast. People that worked at the hotel were also like amazed because most of you guys are there on scholarship. And so all of the hotel rooms was on our master account. And so they were like, wow, you guys are really paying for everybody to be here. And we do. That is in July. That meeting, there will be tons of scholarships, patients, caregivers. This year, we really want to prioritize getting newly diagnosed families there. You just got your baby diagnosed. Come on out and meet your family and let us support you. This year, we really, really want to open up a lot of scholarships to those, as well as all of our existing. We gave out, I think, Dominique, correct me, but I think we gave out at least 400 or 350. It was a lot. It
was almost 400.
Yeah, a lot of scholarships. And so that meant that we covered the hotel room in its entirety. We provided lots of meals. We provided to families groceries. We had free on-site daycare. If you had a child that was younger than the minimum age for the children's track, there was a daycare on site where you could check your baby in, licensed, insured. We did lots of great talks. We were also virtual, lots of fun. That is the July meeting. And this year it is going to be in Atlanta. It is going to be July 17th through the 21st. And it's going to be a blast. We're working on getting the registration up and all of the scholarships so you all can begin applying for them. It's going to be fantastic. That is in July. Today, we're talking about the Leadership Summit. The summit is a really very different kind of meeting. The Leadership Summit is all about the General Assembly of the Sickle Cell Consortium. So April 10th through the 14th, you see it on the screen. We're coming together in Atlanta. We are going back to the Hilton Garden Inn Buckhead. Now, those of you that were there last year, I did talk to them. They have a new chef. I know a lot of us, I remember saying that the food tasted like sadness and depression and housing discrimination. It was just tragedies. But we got a new chef, and supposedly it's going to be a better experience. So I'm just saying that because some places have delicious food and others do not. We checked it out to make sure we weren't going to have to chow down on sadness. I always go there. I just go too far. Sharonda is in the background saying, Lakia, I guarantee it. But go ahead.
I did hear about the food also. And so
it was not good.
I was there, I was virtually, I wasn't there in person. And I heard a few people say that the food wasn't good. But you know what, you guys, this year, it's going to be a lot better. We got some great meals picked out for you guys.
We do.
We got great meals picked out for you guys. And
our virtual attendees, you're getting food cards. So you can pick out your own food.
You can pick your own lunch out.
There you go. Yeah. But before I went there, the Leadership Summit is where we bring together the General Assembly. Now, what is the General Assembly? The Sickle Cell Consortium was designed and patterned after the United Nations. What that means is that everyone that joins us, they are not members. There's no membership fee or process. There is a partnership process. We partner, and the distinction there is that every organization and individual retains your autonomy. That means the consortium does not dictate how your organization runs or any of that. What we do double check is that all the organizations that follow us are in fact ethical with their finances and their actions, and that they have a mission that matches the general mission of the consortium to improve the lives and the healthcare outcomes for sickle cell disease warriors and our caregivers. Our goal is to ensure that patients and caregivers are at the center of legislation, education, research, advocacy, and policy. Our goal is when I started the consortium, I started it with this thought that helplessness is a learned condition.
Mm-hmm.
And if helplessness can be learned, then helplessness can be unlearned. That we can step out of that and we can be that change we want to see. We see problems, needs, and gaps. Instead of complaining and waiting for others to solve it, we can do it. Warriors and caregivers can step up and create the difference that we wish we saw. And that is the whole purpose of the consortium. But we are designed in a very unique way. There are multiple partner types. You can be a community-based org. You can be, which is a 501c3. You have a nonprofit. You are a designated nonprofit with the federal government and your state and federal government and your state. And you are in the sickle cell space, right? You are a sickle cell community-based org. You could be a junior CBO. We have one, most of ours have already graduated from junior to full CBO. The J in junior it just designates that you're not yet a 501c3, but are working on it. And we used to have quite a few, but slowly, one by one, they've all graduated into full CBO. So there's one JCBO remaining. You can be an SPO, which stands for Sponsored Patient Org. Those are like, let's say, what is it called? Support groups, or groups of like parents that get together to do different things. Maybe they are an organized unit. They are often sponsored by a physician or a hospital or a clinic or another organization with no intention of becoming a 501c3. That is not in the plan. They are an organized group to host a support group or to host outings. There's a lot of different ways you can be an SPO. You can be sponsored either by the consortium or one of our partners or in hospital or clinic. You do have to have a fiscal agent to be designated as an SPO with the consortium. And those groups also partner with us. We also partner with what we right now call community partners. So that can be a little confusing because there's community-based orgs and then there's community partners. Community partners are groups like Be the Match, now known, I think, entirely as NMDP, the National Marrow Donor Project. Mm-hmm. I believe they're rebranding to be NMDP entirely, but Be the Match or NMDP, they are partnered with us. They are a 501c3. They are a nonprofit. However, they're more than just sickle cell. They are any of the diseases that connect to bone marrow transplantation. So that's a type of community partner. Or Clayton Andrews has a counseling, Andrews Counseling. That is a for-profit organization, but one of their main tenets is that they provide mental health support for individuals with sickle cell disease. There's quite a few of those groups. Oh, I think there's 5 actually. So not quite a few, but we have 5 CPs that are connected with us. If you have a small business, but some aspect of what you do is connected to sickle cell, you can qualify to be a CP. If you're a nonprofit, but some aspect of what you do is connected to sickle cell and not entirely the focus is not sickle cell, but connected in some way, you can be a CP. At the moment, I believe we have 5 active CPs, and which is higher because we really just opened that broadly for people to join this year. So we will let them know. We've had a few in the past, but it's been just 1 or 2. But we do have that category now. And then of our community-based orgs, we have international and domestic. Domestic are in the U.S., mostly the contiguous U.S., but any of its territories are all part of the U.S., our domestic partnership. And then we have international partners. We just opened up in 2023. We officially began accepting international partners. There are 18 of them as of last count. And these are organizations that are outside of the US. They might be in Canada, the UK, on the continent, one of the countries in Africa. I believe Australia, there's an Australia partner.
Yep, Australia.
Colombia, we've got a partner in Colombia. So different groups. There's a couple of groups that are working on joining us now from the United Arab Emirates and from the UK. And Holland. Holland is joining us too. So, it's just outside of the US, basically, our international partners. And then, is that all of them? Then the last category is IPCA. So what that means is these are individual patient and caregiver leaders in this space. advocates or working to become an active advocate, educators, patients and caregivers who are not part of the executive leadership of an existing organization. Because we know there are a lot of you that are leaders in this space, but are not connected to an organization. That group is also a very important partnership group. Now, collectively, all of these groups, these representatives and their delegates, collectively make up the General Assembly. Like the United Nations, the General Assembly is the decision-making body of the consortium. The General Assembly then divides into 10 infrastructure committees. Everyone is mandated to serve on at least one, and these committees run the activities of the consortium. So we've got a board of directors, we've got our staff, we've got our General Assembly. Every other year, the General Assembly elects a president of the General Assembly and a secretary of the General Assembly. This is an even year, so it is an election year. The current president is Mia Robinson. She is running again. And the current secretary is Andressa Hunsel, who is not running again. So nominations are open to accept for new presidents and secretary, and we will have our vote at the Leadership Summit. So, different meeting. The Leadership Summit is designed to bring together our partners. And at this meeting, now it is open to the public, others can come as well, but the meeting is designed to bring together our partners to accomplish 4 things. We do our business meeting. Now, the largest part of the business meeting has now been separated, and it occurs at what we call the G2, the General Assembly Part 2 meeting, which is in October of each year. We started that year before. And so the year before, we began having the G2 so that so much doesn't have to get crunched into the summit. That is the business meeting. It's where all of the business. Now, there is a smaller business meeting that will happen at the summit where we would do the elections. We would talk about our infrastructure committees, and we need to review something else is on the agenda for the business meeting. I'm blanking right now, but the business meeting occurs. We also provide updates from academia, from government, from industry. This is a good place to get the landscape of the sickle cell space. What's going on? What are the different groups doing? And then we also provide training. We provide a great deal of workshops and training for both organizations and IPCAs. I'm really, really excited this year. We are going to be giving you all instructions on how to effectively use AI. AI can give you back so much of your time. And if you know how to use it correctly and effectively, I'm excited about that. We're going to be connecting with patients and caregivers and CBOs, how to effectively engage in research in this space. We have a session that's coming about the LLC. A lot of our IPCAs, it's important that you understand the strength and the reasons to create an LLC, a limited liability corporation. And if you're a professional advocate, what is the benefit of an LLC? Why do you need to have at least 2 people on your LLC so that it doesn't count with the IRS as a sole proprietorship? What does it mean to have an LLC? How do you set that up? Did you know that you can actually hire your own children to work for your LLC at $10,000 per child per year, and that's untaxed? There are a certain number of months you can actually rent space back. There's just so much you can do with an LLC. And what does that look like? We're super excited to be able to talk to you all about that. This year at the Leadership Summit, we're also talking about burnout. We're talking about compassion fatigue, and we are offering self-care services to our partners. So those that will be there in person, come and sign up when you get there, because masseuse will be there on Saturday. Go ahead and get the massage. Come and pick out some self-care items that we're bringing for the partners. We are recognizing that it is very easy to fall into burnout when you are in this capacity, in this space. And we're recognizing how easy that compassion fatigue is a real thing. At the consortium last year at our staff retreat, we had someone to come talk to us about compassion fatigue. Prior to that, I'd never heard the phrase. I did not know that was a thing. But once she started talking about it, I got it. And making sure that our partners are taking care of ourselves, as we are the leaders in this space. We are decision-making people into the consortium, but also we're opinion leaders. We're key opinion leaders in the sickle cell space, but it's easy to get burnt out. Of course, we also do the fourth thing that we do at the Leadership Summit is we offer other partner services. So that this year will include, of course, our self-care, but also headshots. Get your professional headshot. If you have a company and or you make merchandise, you have t-shirts, jewelry, and you need merchandise photo, well, where better else to do it than in a room full of warriors that can be your models? Reach out, grab some models, bring your merchandise, and sign up for your merchandising photo shoot at the summit, at the Leadership Summit. We will have consultants available. Let's get some consultations for finances, for branding, for your website, just different consultants. These are all part of the services that we offer our partners so that you all can we can provide that strength. One of the things that we discussed heavily when we started the consortium, we all got together in 2013 at the Patient Focused Drug Development Initiative the FDA held. They did it in February in Maryland. The consortium didn't exist yet. I made a lot of phone calls to every CBO I could think of and say, hey, we've been talking about this for a while. Let's do it. Let's create it. And one of the reasons we wanted to create this was so that all the different CBOs, regardless of how small or how large, could have a voice. And collectively, with that strong voice, we finally got to the place I envisioned us getting to, where we would be able to get the funding so that we could offer these services to you all. We could offer this training. And our next big step is to now get the funding so that we can give bigger grants. The consortium already gives grants to our partners, but I look forward to the day when we can give out $10,000, $20,000 to help organizations get established. We're not there yet, but we're working on it. And that is sort of the strength of bringing us all together as one collective mighty group so that our voice can be heard. We can get the funding that we need. We can support and share how to get funding. That's another class, a training that I'm teaching, how to get your event funded, how to get your funding in this space. The consortium, we've been very, very blessed to be able to fund these things. And so we are going to be sharing our knowledge and experience with those at the summit. Now, I mentioned before that you don't have to be a partner to attend. So before we jump into that, Dominique, what else should I tell them about the summit and why it's a very different meeting than the convention?
One thing I remember the first time I came to the Leadership Summit. It was in 2018. Yeah, it was 2018. I came to the Leadership Summit. I had just found out about it. And I remember someone saying this is a business meeting. It's not like the rest of the conventions that when you're going to this meeting, you're coming to work. You're coming to get ideas down and get those ideas implemented to make changes or work on the project. So for the Leadership Summit, this is not like it's going to be a lot of activities where it's going to be fun. This is going to be fun, but it's going to be
don't lie to the folks. It's maybe a little fun, but it's a lot of work.
I said it's going to be educational fun. So, but it's you're coming to the Leadership Summit, whether you attend virtual or in person, to work. And so it's very important to understand that this is a meeting that is going to, one, is going to give you a lot of knowledge that you need. As Dr. Bailey stated, this has lots and lots of training that it provides not only to our IPCAs, but to our CBOs as well. There's also a lot of networking because there are other prominent advocates that may be in your space, as well as industry that is going to be there, that will have exhibit booths and that is going to want to talk to warriors and caregivers and organizations in certain parts of the country or even part of the world, because they have either advisory boards or clinical trials or something coming up where they need sickle cell warriors and the advocates to help. So, and you get one-on-one time with the leaders and the pharma companies. This is a true business education meeting where you come and it's work, but it's good work because you get so much out of it.
That's such a good point. I'm really glad you said that because that is a prime difference, you all. It is a business meeting. We ask that everyone come dressed business or business casual. We do ask that you bring a computer or a laptop. If you do not have one, well, one, let us know because we have a fund to address that need, particularly in homes with children. Make sure you have the technology that you need. But two, we will also have some on site that you can check out because you are going to need an ability to access the web. We're going to be doing our voting. There's a lot that's going to happen at this meeting where you will need a smartphone, a laptop, or a tablet. So we do ask that you all come dressed for a business meeting and come prepared to work. The meeting itself will basically go from 10. 9 to 10 is wellness, stretches, yoga, deep breathing. But starting at 10 to, is it 5? I believe it's 4.
10
It's
to
4. 10 to 4 every day. It's like a work day. And then we have an hour lunch and an hour at from 5 to 6 for dinner that we provide each day. And those also will be working meals. So come prepared for a work day, 10 to 4 with 1 hour lunch, which is a working lunch, and then dinner from 5 to 6. So it's actually 10 to 5, I think, not 4. It's 10 to 5, and then 5 to 6 for dinner.
Oh
So
yeah, because 4 is our last session, and that session
exactly.
is an hour. So
So
that's
it's 10 to 5. It's a work day. You will be basically working for 4 days. We come in on the 10th. On that first day, there is check in and a reception, except for those that have been participating in the creative content series, because they will have a class 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. So we encourage everyone to arrive by 3 at the hotel, and or you can check in online. We will have a check-in for our virtual attendees too, and then a reception. And then that is the 10th. And then we are going to go all day, 11th, 12th, and 13th. It is 3 work days from 10 to 5. And so, and then an hour for a dinner. We're having 2 specific dinners and then a more open dinner on that Saturday. One is going to be a discussion on cell and gene therapies, the curative therapies, curative. We're going to discuss that, curative, and what that really means. And we will be hearing from multiple industry companies that are in that space. That is the second one. The first one is the disease modifying dinner, which I believe is Thursday. And we're hearing from multiple industries in that space. Then the next day, we're doing cell and gene therapy dinner at 5. And then that Saturday, we are doing more of an open, I believe it's like a taco buffet, grab and go while you get your massage or you do your consultations. It is that one isn't as much as a networking time to grab some food, network, get a consultation, connect with other orgs, participate in a roundtable with Vertex or with Pfizer. You can connect with your other organizations. You can go get a sign up and get a massage, go get your headshot, get some merchandising photos, do all kinds of stuff that we've got going on that Saturday. So basically, I said a lot of words in order to emphatically agree with Dominique that this is a working meeting. It is 3 full work days from 10 to 5, hour lunch, and then an hour dinner at the end. It is a different vibe. So we do have fun. We're going to be super excited to see everyone. We always are. We're going to have the 360 photography there and all kinds of other things. But if you're expecting homecoming, royal ball, gala, game night, that's convention. This meeting is for our partners. And I remember the very first leadership summit, the first couple, I used to put out something that I called by the numbers. And I would write down something like, for example, I'd say that first year, maybe it was 80 advocates, 4 days, 27 hours of work. Like I used to count it up to make sure people understood that during the course of these 3 days, you are going to end up working like 30 hours of actual deep, in-depth work. Now, of course, we do recognize that many of you won't be able to attend in person. And so virtually, these things will be streamed because, and as I think I mentioned, this meeting is mandatory for partners. It is the most important gathering. Unless a partner has, illness or a family emergency, we ask that all our partners every year prioritize attendance, even greater than convention. Prioritize being at the Leadership Summit because this is where the work of the consortium begins for the next 2 years. And it's important that you're in the room and in the space in order to really absorb all that we're doing.
Now, I know we explained the differences between what the convention and the leadership summit is. But one thing I do want to make sure you guys know, registration is open. Let's talk about registration, Dr. Bailey.
How about
registration
how important that
is open? Okay. And so let me explain registration for our partners. For those that are partnered, that are credentialed with the consortium, you guys are going to register, and it is cross the stream. You guys are going to be registered. But let me be clear for everyone that is attending the Leadership Summit, whether you are a partner or a general attendee, you must, and I repeat, you must have a free Zoom account. So if you're attending virtually, especially for those attending virtually, when you go to sign up, when you go to register, it's going to ask you to sign in. If you do not have a Zoom account, you can go and sign up for a free Zoom account. It's not going to cost you any money whatsoever. It is free, but you must have a Zoom account in order to register. So you need to make sure that you set up a Zoom account when you go to register. And a free Zoom account is not going to cost you any money. And then you are going to register whether you're attending in person or you're going to be attending virtual.
So let me add one thing right there, Dom. A lot of you are returning partners. We have quite a few new, but most of you are existing partners. You are used to us doing things in Hoover. The Leadership Summit is not in Hoover. We are using Zoom events, which is why you need a Zoom account. And virtually and in person, you both need that Zoom. So just now I want to make sure that you understand that we are not in Hoover. We are in Zoom events, which is a whole platform that Zoom has created to basically dominate the market once again. And it is all inside of Zoom. Every exhibit virtual booth, the sessions will be streamed. All of it is occurring. You're even registering inside of Zoom. So all of that is occurring inside of Zoom, which is why, as Dominique mentions, you need that account. Oh, okay. I think we might have lost Dominique, but she will be back momentarily to give you all the rest of that. So I wanted to just mention that bit about Zoom, not Hoover. And then just let you all know that when you go to the tiny URL online, and you can actually go to sicklecellevents.org and see, about last year's Leadership Summit and what it looked like. You can look at other things, but when you go to the 2024 Leadership Summit and you click register on that website, there's also all the different things that you need about travel. It's you want to fly into ATL, Hartsfield, Atlanta Hartsfield International Airport. If you're coming in person, that is the best airport to arrive at. There's additional information about the hotel. Everyone that is booked through our rate and all of the partners, we're booking yours directly. And so you don't have to call in and book your own room if you are a credentialed partner and register. I'm going to stop and we'll get back into a little bit of this. Dominique is here and she was talking about registration because it's super important that if you are a partner and you are wanting to attend in person, you have got to register by April 1st, which is in a couple of days, because that's the only way we will have a hotel room ready for you. So anyone that's not registered by April 1st, you are in danger of not having a hotel room on site. We're paying for those rooms directly for all of our partners.
Mhm.
You do not need to call and book your own room. But the only way we're able to pay for that is if you register by April 1st. I recommend not waiting till last minute, although this is the last minute. This is already March 29th. Okay, Dominique, you're back. You were talking about registration.
Yes, I'm sorry. I ended up, something happened and I got lost. But yes, as Dr. Bailey was saying, it's very important that everyone, if you plan to attend in person, that you must register before April 1st. If not, there is no guarantee that we will have a room available for you. So it is important if you plan to, and again, I say this, if you plan to attend in person, you need to register by April 1st. If you have not registered by April 1st, then you're going to have to either find your own hotel room or you're going to have to plan to attend virtually, because then we will not be able to get you a hotel room. We are under deadline. So we want to make sure for those that do want to come in person, that they do register by April 1st. The other thing I do want to state, uh, this year, was it last year or this year? Well, last year we instated the new partnership levels. We It was general, active, partnership status. Every partner that credential IPCAs, CPOs that uploaded and updated their information should have received their status within the Sickle Cell Consortium. So you should have received the email from the General Assembly President Mia, stating whether you were general or whether you were active. This year, the consortium is providing hotel accommodations and travel to active partners within the Sickle Cell Consortiums. So please make sure before you register, check to make sure that you are and you want to attend in person. Please make sure that you check to make sure that you are an active partner, because we are providing hotel accommodations and travel for our active partners only. Well, and of course, speakers.
Right. Well, and also, so glad you brought that up. Before we go, we'll go into a little bit more about that and explain more next. I want to go back to that room. I cannot stress enough that if you know anything about these kind of events, you know that you guarantee a certain number of hotel space that the hotel holds for you. And then they release any rooms that are not accounted for. We guaranteed, I don't remember, 200 and some room nights. We have already exceeded that. The hotel still has space to accommodate us. But what we're getting close to now is that not only if you don't get it in time and you have to book your own room, you might not be at the same hotel. You might end up having to be at the hotel across the street because we have rapidly filled up the one that we're headed towards. So I want to really, really stress that we have already exceeded the number that we originally guaranteed. And we are wanting to not have to put any partner in the hotel across the street. So hurry up, go online right now and register. Now, Dominique brought up a very good point, and I want to direct everyone to the website to guidelines, sicklecellavents.org/guidelines. That is where you will find the travel and lodging policy, specifically the details about partners, about active and general partners, and the policy on reimbursement for your flight. Not only, here it is, Sharonda is showing it now, protocols, policies, and guidelines. If you go here, They are here, the code of conduct, ethics, there's the COVID, but also how very important it is that you review the travel policy. There are very, very specific details. As partners, not only are we covering your hotel and waiving the cost of registration for our partners, we are reimbursing your travel up to a certain amount per delegate, per org, and per IPCA. So I really encourage all of you to review the travel policy and the guidelines so that you are aware how the reimbursements will work and what form you need to complete and bring the information with you, because your checks will be written and provided to you on site at the financial desk. Same as it's been in previous years, but it's super important. These documents also outline, as you all will remember, we instituted last year the president of the General Assembly and the Executive Committee. We created and we instituted active and general partners. This is based on participation and attendance. Mia Robinson, wonderful. She's been a wonderful president of the General Assembly, and she thought it very important that we put something in place that it's not so much people just, coming for the trip, but are actually actively working on the priorities, on the initiatives, on keeping the consortium running smoothly. Those people that attended events, they gave out scholarships, they applied for grants, they came to our First Friday partner meeting, were classified as active at a certain threshold. I think there were 110 participation points available, and if you got more than 50, you were classified as active. Mm-hmm. Active partners are now those partners who have access to a lot of services, and they are the ones who will be reimbursed for travel and have hotel covered up front. General partners are those that were not very active last year. There was a period of time where you could appeal that status if there was something going on and you wanted to appeal. And I think 4 or 5 people appealed and had their general transferred to active because of various reasons. And it's important to recognize that that's not constant. If somebody was classified as general based on their activity last year, they can become more active this year and that be transferred to an active partner. Okay. Now, general partners still have access to a lot of services, Free Warrior University and training, access to give out some scholarships and things, but it is the active partners that will have lots more scholarships and access to even more services and the travel reimbursement and upfront costs for hotel. Everybody has their registration costs waived, all partners, active and general. Your leadership summit, there is a registration cost, but it is completely waived for partners, presenters, things like that. So please head on to the website and review. Go ahead and get it, Mom. Please head on to the website and review the policies and guidelines. It's very, very important that all partners understand how that works. If you have already registered for a room, I did get the pickup list and I noticed, I think 1 or 2 partners who got your own room. Go ahead and call the hotel and cancel that because you're on our roaming list if you are a partner. Now, if you're not sure if you're a partner or not, or your status, email credentialing. So you want to email Rose Bailey, R. Bailey at sicklecellconsortium.org. Go ahead and email her and say, I'm emailing to verify my partner status and my level, am I active or general, so that you can have that information. Now, one of the things I wanted to, on the screen a moment ago, you'll notice there were 2 different registration links. Can we go back to that for a moment? If you are a partner or a presenter or a sponsor that chose a package that came with complimentary registration tickets, you are going to use the first link. If, however, you are wanting to attend but are not a partner, or you are industry but not a sponsor, or you just want to get extra tickets as a sponsor, you will use the second link. That will take you to Eventbrite so that you can pay your registration and come on out and join us. Now, if you are working to become a partner but did not partner by the deadline, like I said, we're out of rooms that we've held for you, but you can still partner right now and then join us virtually. So I think that Sharonda mentioned there was a miscommunication that people thought partnership was closed with the consortium. Partnership with the consortium is a year-round process. You can complete the form to become a partner at any point. However, you do need to understand that review is only done at certain periods of time. So if you fill it out right now for partnership, it will not be reviewed until the next review, I believe, is some point in early April. So it's too late to become a partner in time to attend the summit in person. But you have time to join us as a partner and attend the summit virtually and have your registration waived. If that's something you want to do, we encourage you to go to the link and complete partnership. So that is a different link that we can share with you for anyone. Oh, she pulled it up.
Yep.
Credentialing 2024 on the screen. You're not a partner yet. You want to be a partner. You want to be an IPCA. You want to join your organization, a JCBO, an SPO. Go to that link and fill it out. But please understand that you will not get your letter that you have been that you're now a partner until early April, and it will be too late to attend the summit in person, but you can still attend virtually.
So I do want to make sure I clarify for you guys. So as Dr. Bailey said, credentialing is year round. You could credential whenever. However, credentialing to attend the leadership in person, credentialing on time to attend the leadership in person deadline has passed. However, you are able to credential. You can still credential and attend the leadership summit virtually and have your fee, the registration fee, waived. Then you will get your notification that you could register. So in person, the deadline has passed. However, if you still want to credential, you are able to, and you're able to attend virtually for the leadership summit. Now, if you still want to attend in person and you are not an active partner, you can attend the convention if you register on your own dime. There will be no reimbursement, no hotel accommodations on the consortium dime. That will be on your dime, and that is completely up to you if you want to do it or not. We want to make sure that it's very clear that non-active partners and non-partners of the that's attending the leadership summit, that the consortium is not reimbursing travel accommodations or hotel. So make sure that you credential. I also want to say one thing about credentialing. When you guys credential, if you're a CBO, make sure you put your delegate names down, who the delegates are, because all delegates also need to needs to register to attend the leadership summit. So if you're the head of your organization and you want another of your delegates to attend, your delegate also has to register as well. So please remember that as well.
Yes. And I'm very glad Dominique brought up delegates, because that's another thing on the list here. To clarify and make sure everyone understands, every organization except for community partners can have a total of 4 delegates. That is the leader or whoever is the primary contact plus 3 others. You can have a total of 4 delegates. These 4 delegates are meant to be those that can make decisions on behalf of the organization, and they will receive the emails and updates regarding consortium for your organization. They will be able to vote on behalf of your organization. They can sit on one of the infrastructure committees or special priority committees on behalf of your organization. They are decision-making representatives of your org. Now, although you can have a total of 4 delegates per organization, the consortium will only be providing lodging and registration, waiving, and well, all partners can be waived. All 4 can be registration waived, but we are only providing the travel reimbursement and the lodging for 2 delegates per organization. So each delegate needs to register. They will sign up as the CBO. So let's say the consortium, they will choose CBO, that they are with the Sickle Cell Consortium, and then they will sign up as a delegate. There, you can register up to 4 delegates per org, but if they are coming in person, we will only be able to provide travel reimbursement and lodging for 2 of the 4 delegates. So make sure that as you're thinking about it, because we've had this come up, you might have somebody that volunteers with the organization a lot, but they're not a decision-making part of your organization. They're not part of your executive leadership of the org. In that case, it might make more sense for them to partner with us as an IPCA. Mm-hmm. However, if they are in an executive role or a decision-making role, they have to be a delegate. It is a conflict of interest to have them as an IPCA. So anyone who is part of the executive leadership of an existing organization, existing sickle cell org, must be a delegate of that org. So you have somebody that volunteers, or you have a community health worker that doesn't make decisions, but is an employee of your org, and they want to be part of the consortium. It is actually better for you all financially for them to be an IPCA. That way they will get their own lodging, their own registration waived, and their own travel reimbursement. But if you have them as a delegate, that limits how many other delegates you can have, but it also affects you financially. So just on your side, it's a little bit more expensive for us, but on your side, it's more fiscally, like it makes more sense for you all to be very careful. Delegates are those that can make decisions, and we will assume they can make decisions on behalf of the org, and they will represent your org. IPCAs are those that are not part of executive leadership. And so they are independent, even though they volunteer for your org or they're an employee, a non-decision making employee. It's better for you all as partners to let them be IPCAs. Now you can decide, I'm not going to be able to attend, so I'm going to imbue them with the authority to make decisions at consortium events, and I need them to represent the org. We have cases like that where the executive leadership is actually already bound to a separate event that's happening. So they're sending a delegate with the authority to make decisions, and they want that person to be a delegate, not an IPCA. So it's important to really think through whether or not your people are delegates or are they independent in this capacity. Register up to 4, but 2 of them will need to be virtual. Or you can send them all, but just understand we will only be providing lodging and travel reimbursement for 2 of the 4.
And for all the partners, in order for you to find out the travel policy, you could go to sicklecellavents.com /guidelines. Oh, I apologize. .org/guidelines and go to travel policy, and all that information that Dr. Bailey and I just stated is inside the travel policy and much more. So please go and check that policy out for the partners. And again, make sure you know whether you are an active partner or a general partner, because that would be based on what your reimbursement, if you get reimbursement or not. I think that was everything for registration. Did we miss anything?
Like we did. 2 different links. That's how that works. Anyone can attend. If you put something on the docket, someone must be there to present, either in person or virtually, to represent that docket. Now, if you're not a partner.
We didn't do the docket yet. The docket was next.
We talked a little bit about it. I went over a little bit, but yeah, let's get into that some more. Now, one thing I want to say is that, well, let's just start at the beginning. But I do want to say that if you are not a partner of the consortium, but you have a project, you notice a need, a problem, a gap in the space that you think should be on this docket, you can simply put it on the docket and then identify someone that will be at the summit or register to attend the summit. Somebody must be present to present that docket item, and you can present it. If you're not a partner, you will not be able to serve as project manager of that item, but you can still add things to the docket. All right, let's get into this a bit more. So, as when I was describing the General Assembly, I talked about the docket. What is the docket? The docket is every even year, and I mentioned this, and this is an even year, 2024, the docket opens. And this is where the partners and the general public identified problems, needs, and gaps in the sickle cell space. This is where you, and I mentioned landscape analysis and all of that. This is where you go onto that docket. And will you put the link, will you put that graphic up again for me? You go onto that docket, and there's two sides to the docket. There's the business meeting side, which is what we now debate at the G2 in October. And then there's the prioritization side. You will click which side of the docket you're adding an item to. Only partners can add to the business meeting side. Anyone can add to the priorities. You'll say you're adding a new docket item to the priority side of the docket, and then you will say what it is. Let's say, for example, I believe there should be a campaign to reach out to community-based organizations in states that aren't represented. The reason I think is because we need a broader voice across the country, and individuals, even though there might not be a lot of patients in that space, they should be represented at the consortium. And then you'll say a landscape analysis. One of the questions is, why are you adding this? Because the voice of middle America is missing and it needs to be addressed. Is anyone else already doing this? This is the landscape analysis. Do you know of anyone else that is working to address make sure that our global voice is heard on a national scale and reaches out directly? And you'll say, yes, I'm aware of this group, but they're doing it for children, for the transitioning age organizations. Or no, I am not aware, but you do need to do some research, do some Google searches. And that a brief search did not reveal anyone already doing this work. And then you will put all the information in there and you will click submit. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if there are items that are similar, we're going to combine them. And someone must be present at the summit to present your docket item. If an item is on the docket, but no one is there to present it, it will not be discussed or debated. It will be removed from the docket. So let's say you're a partner. You need to make sure you are virtually at the summit or in person at the summit. You'll be brought up and we'll say we have on the docket item number, and everyone will have the copy of this item number 13A to be discussed on this topic. We are discussing domestic outreach for middle America CBOs or something like that. We'll give it a title. And then they will have a brief summary based on what you put on the docket that all partners will have had an opportunity to read ahead of time. But then we'll call to the floor Jane Doe for docket item, what did I say, 13A or whatever. And then you will have the floor. For a limited amount of time, a defined amount of time, you will present and then if somebody else had a similar item, 13B, then they are called to add whatever wasn't said. If a third person, so forth, they will add their little sentence for an amount of time. Then the floor will open to the delegates, to the partners, to the General Assembly. People will raise their hand, the floor will recognize that person, and we will ask questions, and you will basically say, this is why, this is what's important. We're going to be taking notes because at the end of the day, you're going to vote on your top 3 priorities. Now, let's say you're not a partner, but you recognize something that you believe that the consortium collective needs to address. You can still put it on the docket, But you will also either want to register to attend the summit or reach out to an existing partner and connect with them. This needs to be debated at your summit. And during that debate, you will have them discuss it, or you will come on to discuss it during this open prioritization debate. And you will have them, same process. We will open the floor recognizes you. You will say what you need to say. We're going to take all the notes. You're going to answer everyone's questions. And then that will go up for vote. That's the docket. Now, the reason we do this is because we genuinely believe that we're the most important voice in the room. And like I said earlier, we don't accept the concept of helplessness. So you see a problem, we want to address that problem. We're going to give everybody a chance to vote on the top 3 of everything they've heard. These are the 3 most important that they believe we should be collectively addressing for 2024 and 2025, and perhaps longer. Everyone will vote. Everyone's vote is weighed equally. All partners will vote. IPCAs and each organization. Each organization only gets 3 votes, not per delegate, for the whole org. So you all will discuss it amongst your delegates, and then you will go and you will vote on the top 3. My staff would tally the votes. It'll all be public so that you can see that these are the ones with the most votes. And then the next day at the prioritization part 2, we are going at the business meeting, prior to the business meeting, we're going to outline it. Here, this had this number of votes. It was this item. And then the person that put it on the docket, if they are a partner, has the option to be project manager. And how are we going to address this? What partnerships will we need? How are we going to fund it? And every partner is required to serve at least one prioritization committee. And then we'll go to the next one. The next one had this many votes, and here it is. We will identify a project manager. People will have the opportunity to sign up to be on the committee. And then you all, for the 3, will go off into the world after the summit ends and start having meetings. You will meet, your committee will meet, you will create a prospectus. You will create basically a proposal. This is the item. This is why it's important. This is what we're doing. Can you check the door's locked? And then I just heard something at my door, y'all. Go ahead. Thank you so much. We will discuss, this is why it's important. This is what we've got going on. And you all will put together a proposal. Here is the prioritization. Here is how we want to address it. Here is what's going on at it. And then it will come back to the consortium where we will either fund it internally or we will seek external funds, or usually both. Usually some initial funding comes internal while we seek grants and sponsorships for whatever the item is. So if you're not a partner and you want something on the docket, you have that option. But someone must be present to debate it, or it will not be put on the floor for discussion and debate. All right, I said a whole lot. Did I cover it, Dom?
Yes, you did. The only thing that you did not cover is if you want to place something on the docket, you have until April 1st, 11:59, and that is when all docket submissions are due. After that, the docket will be closed and you will not be able to add anything to the docket until 2026.
Yeah. The business docket is debated each year, but the prioritization docket every other year. We used to do it every year, but when you have 3 projects that get added every single year, before you know it, you have tons of projects. So now it is every other year that we add them. Now, it's not the only way that we end up doing projects. Some things arise organically, but the prioritization is a very important process to defining what you believe this network of sickle cell leaders and advocates should be working on. And we have been able to do some amazing things through this process. There's Warrior University series that were created, mental health and wellness, an entire initiative that's done wonderful things. So many different projects, platforms, and initiatives arose through this prioritization process. Like I said, y'all, we're different. We are organized in a way unlike anything I've seen before, but so far it has worked for us. And this is why we've been able to do so much in so few years, because there are so many people with amazing skill sets, patients and caregivers. I don't know if I mentioned this, but a warrior or a caregiver must be at the center directing the actions, that you must have patients and caregivers on every committee and at least 2 community-based organizations. So everything that we end up doing ends up coming from the collective.
Yeah. You guys, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat.
Oh, next gen. That's so good. Y'all, partnership with us is open. Anybody can partner. If you are a leader in this space or wanting to become a leader in this space, an advocate, an educator, or you have a community-based org, we welcome you. The process of becoming a partner is only to review that, one, you are in fact sickle cell. Like, we had someone that partnered or attempted to partner, but they're not actually doing anything with sickle cell. And you do need to be doing something with sickle cell. We also verify that you are, in fact, doing with the funds you raise what you say you're going to do. So if you're raising a lot of funds in the name of sickle cell, but then spending all those funds in pediatric cancer, that is a worthwhile thing to spend funds on, but not if you claimed that it was going to be spent in the sickle cell space. That is the type of thing that we review for partners. And but anyone can become a partner. IPCAs, you can become a partner. And next gen. So I'm really glad that to get this reminder, because young ones, you all and your voice is very important too.
Mm-hmm.
We have advocates as young as, I believe, 7 currently that connect with us. You all will gather as an initiative. You all will have your own docket. You can tell us what projects you want to work on. And then we work on that. We've done the Sunshine Basket was the very first collective project that came out of this. The Children's Library was another one that came out of it. And if you have been with us for a while and you've registered for convention, then minors received a complete copy of the library. People talked about how big and heavy that box was that year, because we sent out every children's book that we had in our inventory, and we actively sought out a lot of them. If we were able to contact the author, we bought 100 of their books and we sent them to every child that requested a copy of the library. That came out of the next gen. And anything like that, we want to hear from you. This group of advocates also host the children's track at convention to outline what we're going to do and how. The STEM room was actually put together entirely by young advocates. I think they were ages 9 and 10 at the time, and a few others that helped them. They put together that they're responsible for those robots that kids programmed at convention, the wall of video games that we had available at convention, some of the other engineering type stuff. Your voice is incredibly important. So if you are a young advocate and you are a minor, you are still important. Your voice is important. And we welcome you to partner with the consortium and attend the summit. Now, we know the summit is during the school year. So we have, if we get enough, if we have those to register, we have the next gen classes on Saturday, and we have some pretty cool stuff scheduled for the next gens on Saturday that register to attend the Leadership Summit. I have the numbers somewhere of how many next gens we currently have, but others can join. Your voice is very important. We want to know what problems, needs, and gaps you see in this space and how you want us to address them. So we welcome our minors to become a partner. We do ask that if you are 17 or under, that you actually, I think it's 16 and under. 17 gets classified differently. But if you are age 16 or under, we ask that you also partner with a parent or caregiver so that if you are on spring break, for example, and decide to come to the Leadership Summit next year in person, you will need to bring a guardian with you. And so we just ask that as you partner, please also have a parent or a caregiver or guardian to partner as well. And we invite you to join us and to share your voice. It is too late to attend in person if you're not already partnered, but you also can attend virtually, and we have classes set up on Saturday.
Okay.
What else? I think that is a lot. We talked about the docket. Did we talk about nomination for president and secretary of the General Assembly?
No, we did not.
Okay. I mentioned before the General Assembly and that the General Assembly elects a president and a secretary of the General Assembly. They represent the voice of the General Assembly on the board of directors. The president sits on the board of directors of the consortium for the duration of their term, and they represent that voice to the board, and they report back to the General Assembly on the actions of the board and vice versa. And they also sit and preside over the infrastructure committees and the executive committee. The executive committee is made up of one representative from each infrastructure committee, and they meet regularly. They oversee the ethics and oversight aspect of the consortium. If there are issues or concerns with like me or my staff, that's the executive committee. They review anyone for new board of directors, which is opening up soon. We're expanding the board. The executive committee is an active participant in selecting members of the board of directors, and all of that is overseen by the president of the General Assembly. It is a stipend position, so there is some funding connected to it. President and secretary both receive a stipend quarterly. And the nominations, we vote every even year. So we probably should have organized that so it was odd years, so it wasn't so much happening at once. But it used to be until pandemic kind of switched the year around. I do think it would be important to kind of try to switch that back in some capacity. But for right now, we are voting. They serve a 2-year term. And if somebody thought that needed to be altered, that they should serve a 4-year term or 3-year term, they would put that on the business side of the docket so that can go before the General Assembly for vote in October. However, nominations are also open until April 1st. So there is a form for that. If you are a partner, you have to be a partner to nominate and vote on a president and a secretary of the General Assembly. You can go to the form and provide the name of your nomination for president or secretary, or nominate yourself. You have to have been a partner with the consortium for at least 2 years, or is it 3? I need to check our bylaws, but you cannot be a new partner and serve as president of the General Assembly. So you do have to be an existing partner. And I believe you have to have been a partner for 2 years, but I'll double check if it's actually 3. But I feel pretty sure.
I believe it's 2.
I believe it's 2 as well, in order to serve as president or secretary of the General Assembly. Okay. I feel like we hit it all.
We did. I do want to say one thing. I do want to say thank you to our sponsors.
Yes. Okay, before you do that, one last thing so we can wrap down with the sponsor. Thank you. Partners, real quick, update. You have to update. If you are within all organizations, CBOs, you have to provide a complete renewal every 5 years. Nobody of the existing partners was at their 5-year. So everyone just has to do an update, but you do have to send in an update. You're still a partner, but we need to know if there's been any changes within your organization. IPCAs, this is your last year of having to do it every year. But if you were an IPCA, you also have to go through and complete the IPCA form again. Now, it was put on the docket and voted in so that you now only have to renew every 3 years, but you have to do it this year. After this year, you will only need to do updates yourself. You will not have to do a full renewal again for 3 years. So, several of you need to still complete your updates. Okay, that's it. And now, as we wind down, unless there's any questions, we do want to say thank you to the sponsors. Take it away, Dominique.
Yes. We want to say thank you to our sponsors because without them, this would not be possible at all. We would not be able to do this. We would not be able to do any of this. So, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you, Vertex and Pfizer, for being this year's platinum sponsors of the Leadership Summit and leading the way in sickle cell advocacy. So, thank you to our sponsors. And thank you to you guys also, to our partners, to the sickle cell community. We do this because it makes a difference, because we love our community. We want to be able to bring change to the community. And with this, it is. And we couldn't possibly do it without you guys. So thank you guys also.
All right. I think we did it. I think, let me double check. I heard a beep on my personal page, but I think we got through. I think we answered questions as we went. That was pretty good. It was long, but I think we did it.
Yeah. And I'm checking the chat. I don't see any questions.
I don't see any additional ones either. Let me double
We were
check.
very thorough.
I think we hit those that were coming in as they came. Yes. I think that's it, y'all.
Wait, someone says they have a question. I have a question. Some people in the community want to know, what do you guys do exactly? Some people tend to think or only see online that all the conventions are just meet and greet and party. They want to know, do y'all go to politicians?
Absolutely. So that's an excellent question. You can actually get a review of a lot of the things that we do. And it is quite a bit. The convention, first, let's start there. It really isn't a meet and greet and party. We do have a lot of fun, but it is at its heart an educational. It is the patient and family educational convention. And so this includes everything from disease education, and we have divided it into body systems so that regardless of the body system, we have provided education all the way through to details on how to read your own chest x-ray. What are you looking at? What are they saying? We've done a series of classes. We at our heart, education. We approach education in different ways. We approach it either in person, and then we do that through the conventions, through the summits, and there's also a caregiver summit, leadership summit, convention, June 19th. There's an expo. We have lots of other events and things, but there's a lot of education. And then we have Warrior University. Warrior University is an online curriculum-based educational platform that has 5 pillars. We have an entire catalog of education. You can visit that catalog by going to, help me, sicklecellnetwork.org.
Sickle Cell Warrior Network.
scwarriornetwork.org. There it is. scwarriornetwork.org. When you go to scwarriornetwork.org, sign in, it's free. You're going to see catalogs of educational videos from everything from the body systems all the way through to exercise, breathing, all of that on disease education. We also have life skill classes that we do as part of this as well. So it extends beyond that. For our community, there we go, the Warrior Network. That platform has videos and videos and videos. I'm sure there's well over 100 and growing of all kinds of education for men specific, for women, fertility, for mental health. There's a lot of mental health things. There's the young adults and the kids tracks, the education. Some of them come with worksheets. So we did a whole project called STEP. What was the name of it? I forgot what we named it, but basically it came with worksheets so that you can understand, for example, what is this CBC? Why is it important? When we're thinking about blood, I can get nerdy about this. We're thinking about making it, keeping it, and destroying it. Each of those numbers on the CBC represents one of those. What are they and what do they mean? So there's a lot of education, both in person and online. We approach it in three ways: in person, online, and then in print. In print is the area where you can find our printed materials, everything from sickle cell and school policy and the COVID edition of that, to bone marrow transplant, to priapism. And we have a project that we did with our prom king, where they get their own platform. And Demetrius Wyant's platform was priapism and was called Save the Male Trunks. All of that kind of education, just lots of different education. The Caregiver's Guide, things like that. Guide to Living with Sickle Cell, which was created by warriors for warriors, but reviewed for accuracy by research scientists and physicians. So education is primary at convention and everything. At the Leadership Summit, a lot of that education is also really geared towards organizations and advocates. What do you need to know, and how can you be an effective advocate? We went over a little bit about what's on the agenda for that and what that looks like. We have a lot of services for organizations and IPCAs and those that are advocates in this space. We also have the social side of this. So at our convention, there will be discussions on being in a relationship with sickle cell. The men's track do things like being a father with sickle cell. The men's track do something, Warriors After Dark. I don't know what they discuss in there, but they seem to love it and they line up to fill that room. We have Warriors After Dark men and women, but we do a lot of the social side, getting through school. What are your rights in the workplace? How do you get health insurance? How do you manage Medicaid, Medicare? That's a session that's coming up. It was recommended by the President of the General Assembly on how to be an entrepreneur while on Medicaid and Medicare. That's going to be a cool session. So AI, all kinds of education. Now you asked about legislation. Absolutely. And in fact, we just co-hosted with CSLs an entire policy forum where there was a day of training and then virtual Hill visits. And one of the first things we ever did as a consortium was support Advocacy Day on Capitol Hill with SCDAA. I believe it was 30 warriors that we brought to the Capitol and scheduled meetings so that they had meetings with senators on both sides of the Hill, the Senate and the House. So, okay, that's the policy forum that we co-hosted with Six Cells, which was fantastic. Six Cells is an organization that is doing amazing work in the area of legislation and policy. And we're thrilled and honored to have co-hosted this with them for the second year in a row. And that is incredibly important. We also support getting people to their local state capitals, and we have different partners that coordinate, and we've had training on how to coordinate an advocacy day in your state. I believe the last set of classes that we did were right before the pandemic, but that was it. Some of our initiatives also include like faith-based. We have one of our prioritizations that's working on connecting with churches and mosques and how to engage with this community and support the community through faith-based initiatives. There are so many different initiatives. If you want to know how to engage with your hospital and what is the hierarchy when things go wrong, who does what, there's an entire online course that we have right now that walks you through it. It has little quizzes to make sure that you know how to navigate the healthcare, because it can be a minefield. We recently just completed, in partnership with EDSC3, which stands for the Emergency Department Sickle Cell Care Coalition, which is a division of ACEP, the American College of Emergency Physicians. We partnered with them and SCDAA to create a entire platform where we collected narratives of what's going on in the emergency department. We held a press conference, and we've been working to address some of these issues that's going on in the emergency department. That is an ongoing, actually, I'm looking forward to showing you all the video. And we're still collecting narratives. If you've had an experience in the emergency department, we want to hear about it. We would like to collect your narrative. We partnered with IS Napa to collect a series of videos just on what are people talking about their experiences with leg ulcers, with retinopathy, with acute chest syndrome, with all the different things. And that is part of an educational series for nurses primarily and providers, but also just for us. I think it's important to hear from other warriors. One of the things I love is our children's track at the convention. That is an educational track for the kids, and they impress me. They come back knowing so much about sickle cell, and they come back as strong caregivers. My nephew fussing at me one time when I was supposed to have an oxygen in my nose and didn't. Like, they come back understanding sickle cell. That track is incredibly, I think, important. We do a caregiver summit. The caregivers came to us and told us that they like the convention, they get a lot of education out of it, but that they wanted something that was just theirs. And so we have now every year, I think we're on year 4, question mark. Yes, this is our 4th caregiver summit.
Mhm.
It is directly for sickle cell caregivers, by caregivers, for caregivers, and we bring in experts to talk to them. Everything from relationship counseling to understanding the tests your child need, to ask a doctor sessions. We've created these caregiver guides, these resources here, Blood and Marrow, caregiver guides, Define Your Life. There's a lot, I think, that I mentioned earlier. We are a collective of a lot of organizations. And so, although we're only 8 years old, we've been able to do an awful lot in a lot of different spaces because there's so many wonderful advocates working together to get things done. So you name it, from transition to mental health, imprint research, all those brochures and booklets you just saw, that came about because a warrior posted on Facebook how she hated going to the doctor and seeing publications for every disease but sickle cell. And her post went mini viral. I'd say viral in our space. And so we partnered with Bold Lips for Sickle Cell and Sickle Cell 101 to create our very first guide to living with sickle cell. We got it funded, and people had an opportunity to put what hospitals they wanted it sent to, and we sent hundreds of them, thousands actually, out completely free to every hospital and clinic that the patient said they wanted them to go to. And we still give those out in mass, and they're in English and Spanish. I was about to say French. We're supposed to be working on French, but they're in English and Spanish. So it depends on what specifically you're looking for, but our goal is to put the patient and caregiver at the center of research, legislation, education, awareness, and policy. And all of those have entire initiatives that have been created and dedicated. And everything has a patient or caregiver at the center. We've done grants, grant writing training. We did a 2-day grant writing intensive to teach people how to write grants. We did some classes on how to write abstracts, how to create a poster, how to give a talk, just all kinds of things. If you name it, we've probably worked on it. And if we haven't yet, then it needs to go on the docket so that it can be prioritized in some capacity. I know there's so much more, but usually we do a state of the consortium. Those states of the consortium are online. They're long. They lend to be about an hour and a half to 2 hours each. But if you wanted to review previous states of the consortiums, we do have lots more. But if you wanted to review any of the previous states, like how we approached COVID, all the meetings we had, and the pillars that we created, and how we addressed COVID, and we sent out computers and tablets to kids in homes that didn't have them, and we've continued doing that every convention. You can go back and review some of the old states of the consortium. I think they're still in YouTube, though. I don't know if those have been uploaded into the Warrior Network. This year's State of the Consortium is going to happen at the Leadership Summit. On day 1, the open plenary will be the State of the Consortium, so that you can sort of see all of the things that we do, from policy, legislation, to education, to just emergency response team. That's a group that They started off as the COVID response team. They became emergency response team. They meet regularly, and they're the reason that you can fill out a form and get help with utilities, food, groceries. Whenever there's like a major storm or event that affects warriors, we send out like food and groceries and help them pay for bills and things like that. That's part of emergency response team.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big question. And some of that I just named some of the stuff that we do. It's definitely not all because we do so much more than that. But Demetria, your question was, you remember those? Yes, we absolutely still have them. If you anybody that's coming to the summit will have an opportunity to pick up a bunch of those and physically take them with them in English and Spanish, the ones we sent out to the hospitals. Actually, Dominique, Mom mentioned that we probably should send something out and ask people ahead of time which
Yeah.
which publications do you want and how many, so that we can go ahead and count them out, so that we can just have them and like, here, you asked for this, you asked for that. We probably should do that. I think it'll help organize and get everything passed out quicker.
Yep.
Um,
I'll write that down.
thank
But
you.
yeah, we do a lot. So that was a great question. But another one was to reiterate the deadline to register
Okay.
for the leadership summit. And then I
Okay.
think that was all the questions we had.
All right. So Demetria, if you're asking for some of the publications, you can actually just reach out if you need them to go to a certain hospital or clinic so that we can get them shipped out to that hospital or clinic. I believe there's a form online. If it's not online anymore, I need to figure out where it is that you can say, hey, I need this and this to go to this hospital. And what we need you to do is find out who we send it to. So you'll say, send it to the hematology clinic, care of Dr. So-and-so at this address. If you can outline that and there's a place for it in the form, we'll send them out to that hospital or clinic. The deadline to register, if you are a partner and you are coming in person, you must register by April 1st, 11:59 p.m. Eastern, because we have got to get your room assigned. It's incredibly important. I cannot stress enough. All partners coming in person, super important that you register by April 1st. Everybody else, it's really important that you register as soon as you can as well. April 1st, we will continue. You can continue to register later if you're coming virtually. However, there is a deadline or you will not get the registration package or the food cards. So all virtual attendants must register by, let me check my calendar. I think it might be April. Is it April 1st? Because
I think April 1st also.
it is. It's April 1st as well. All deadlines. So if those of you that wanted to get the package and the food cards, you have to register by Monday, April 1st. And that's this coming Monday. You must register by April 1st in order to get the registration package, get the food card virtually, or have a hotel room in person and qualify for the travel reimbursement. So April 1st. Now, if you are a general attendee and you want to go to that second link we showed, you actually can register all the way up through to the last day of the summit if you wanted to, but you will not get the registration package or the food cards. SickleCellEvents.org. Yeah,
That's the link to go and check out our events. You can also go and register. And I believe we hit everything, Dr. Bailey. This was amazing.
So. And I would say don't underestimate the value of meet and greet and party too, because at our convention we do a lot of that as well. Lots of fun, because there needs to be a space where if everyone, there was a child that drew this drawing at our 2019 convention that I think about a lot. She was a young adult. She wasn't a little kid, but she did this drawing, and underneath it she wrote, "I love being in this world where sickle cell is normal." And the thought behind that was powerful to me, because once everyone has sickle cell, then no one does. We're all just the same. and we can party and understand that when you don't see somebody, they needed to go lay down because we have a whole shelf full of blankets because everybody's cold. Or I think it's important to have a lot of fun too. So that is one of the reasons why we do a lot of meet and greet and having fun at convention in addition to everything else. Golden Warriors was super fun too. Last year we brought in all our Golden Warriors. I love that so much. All right. I could go on and on. I'm going to stop, but that was amazing.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. And we'll see you guys at the Leadership Summit. Thank you, Dr. Bailey.
Absolutely. I keep seeing things pop up. I don't have my glasses on. Are there anything in this side chat, Dominique? What is that?
Nope, we're good.
Sharonda saying stuff?
No, that was just Sharonda. We're good.
Oh, okay.
They were just saying it was an amazing experience. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that.
We'll see you all at the Leadership Summit. Bye, guys.